The rain hammered the church steps like God's own judgment, soaking through my suit as Emily's words sliced deeper than any storm. Nathaniel, I can't do this anymore. I'm in love with him, and we're getting married next month. Her voice cracked, but her eyes, those hazel eyes I'd memorized over 3 years, were already turning away, toward the sleek black car idling at the curb where her fiancé waited like a shadow she'd chosen over our light. I stood there, frozen in the downpour, the bouquet of wilted lilies clutched in my fist like a lifeline slipping away, as the door to our shared apartment, now just mine, slammed shut in my mind with the finality of a coffin lid. The weeks that followed blurred into a haze of whiskey shots and unanswered texts, the kind of heartbreak that turns Brooklyn brownstones into prisons. I'd met Emily in a cramped coffee shop off Bedford Avenue, back when I was still chasing the dream of making it as a graphic designer in the city that chews up artists like stale bagels. She was a paralegal with a laugh that could disarm a jury, her red hair catching the morning light like fire on the East River. We bonded over bad puns and shared dreams of escaping the grind. Hers for a corner office in Manhattan, mine for a solo exhibit in Chelsea. 3 years later, here I was, 32 and unraveling, staring at the ceiling of my loft while the Hudson's distant hum mocked my solitude. Betrayal has a way of rewriting your history. Every memory we'd built, the lazy Sundays tangled in sheets scented with her lavender shampoo, the spontaneous road trip to the Finger Lakes where we skinny dipped under a harvest moon, now twisted into evidence of her deceit. She'd been seeing him for months. She confessed that rainy afternoon outside St. Mark's Church, where we'd planned to discuss moving in permanently. His name was Derek, a Wall Street shark with a trust fund smile and a penthouse view that made my freelance gigs look like pocket change. He's stable, Nate, she'd said, as if stability was the antidote to the wild, imperfect love we'd shared. You deserve that too, but I need it now. I didn't scream or beg. Instead, I nodded, the water streaming down my face indistinguishable from tears, and watched her slide into that car, her white sundress blooming like a surrender flag against the leather seats. The engine purred to life, and just like that, she was gone, leaving me with a lease I couldn't afford and a heart stitched together with dental floss. Packing her things was the worst. Boxes of her Lululemon yoga pants and dog-eared copies of Gillian Flynn novels lined the hallway, each one a landmine. I found a photo booth strip from Coney Island tucked in a drawer, mid-kiss, cotton candy smeared on her cheek, my arm slung possessively around her waist. I crumpled it, then smoothed it out, then buried it under a pile of her silk blouses. That's when the doorbell buzzed, a sharp intrusion in the silence. I wiped my eyes, expecting the super or a delivery guy with more pity packages from mutual friends. But it was Sebastian, Emily's brother. The one she'd always described as the family black sheep, the artist who flitted between cities like a moth to neon flames. He stood there in the doorway, drenched from the same storm that had baptized my misery, his blonde hair plastered to his forehead in waves that framed blue eyes sharp as shattered glass. At 28, he was lean and wiry, dressed in a faded black Sabbath tee and jeans ripped at the knees, a messenger bag slung over one shoulder bulging with sketch pads. He'd flown in from Portland that morning, he said, after Emily's frantic call. Nate? Jesus. Man, you look like hell warmed over. His voice was rough around the edges, laced with that Pacific Northwest drawl that made everything sound like a half apology. He didn't wait for an invitation, just shouldered past me into the apartment, dripping water on the hardwood like he owned the place. I closed the door, leaning against it for support, What are you doing here? Seb? Emily send you to babysit. He dropped his bag with a thud, scanning the boxes like a crime scene investigator. Nah, she didn't. But she should've. Said something about you two hitting a rough patch. But this. He trailed off, kicking a stray high heel across the floor. This is nuclear. I laughed, a bitter bark that echoed off the exposed brick walls. Rough patch? That's one way to sugarcoat getting dumped for a banker with a yacht. I sank onto the couch, the springs groaning under my weight. The room smelled of stale takeout and regret. Sebastian didn't sit. He paced instead, hands shoved deep in his pockets, his gaze flicking to the photo strip peeking from under the blouse pile. He fished it out, held it up to the light from the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Williamsburg Bridge. You two were good together. Or at least, that's what she sold me on during family holidays. Barbecues in the Hamptons. That time you all crashed my exhibit in Seattle. Exhibit? I raised an eyebrow, forcing myself to focus on him instead of the ache. Sebastian was Emily's half-brother. Same mom, different dads. A detail she'd glossed over until their mom's funeral 2 years back. He'd shown up then in a suit that hung off him like borrowed skin, sketching in the margins of the eulogy program while the rest of us sobbed. I'd always liked him, in that distant way you like a cool uncle you see once a year. Talented, unapologetically queer, with a string of boyfriends he'd mention in passing like casual weather reports. Yeah, my photography stuff. Landscapes mostly, but with people blurred in the edges, like their ghosts haunting the frame. He pocketed the photo, then grabbed a beer from the fridge without asking, twisting the cap off on the edge of the counter. Look, Nate, I'm not here to play therapist. But Emily's my sister, and you were family. So, what the hell happened? I took the second beer he offered, the cold glass grounding me. Words tumbled out then, unfiltered, the late nights she'd spent working, the perfumed collars on shirts I'd washed, the way she'd started flinching at my touch like it burned. Derek had been a client, then a confidant, then the future she craved. She said I was too scattered. I admitted, staring at the label peeling under my thumb. Freelance life, no 401k, just dreams and ramen. Guess stability wins over soul in the end. Sebastian snorted, leaning against the kitchen island. Stability? That's code for boring as fuck. Emily's always chased the shiny things, law degree, corner office. Now this Derek prick with his Rolex and repression issues. He took a swig, his Adam's apple bobbing. You know he's straight edge, right? No tattoos, no piercings, probably prays before sex. Emily's wild side got bored. That's all. I shot him a look. Easy for you to say. You're the free spirit, hopping coasts, dating whoever catches your eye. Last I heard, it was that barista in Austin with the sleeve tats. He grinned, but it didn't reach his eyes. That ended. Turns out poets make shitty boyfriends. They romanticize everything but the dishes. He set the bottle down, his expression shifting to something softer, almost hesitant. But seriously, Nate, you gonna let this gut you? Or you gonna fight? Fight for what? She's gone. The words hung heavy, and for the first time since the church steps, I felt the full weight of it pressing on my chest. Sebastian crossed the room in 3 strides, dropping to his haunches in front of me. His hands gripped my knees, steady and warm through the damp fabric. Not for her, idiot. For you. This city's got a million ways to rebuild. Start with getting out of this tomb. That night, He crashed on the couch, his snores a ragged symphony against the city's nocturnal pulse. I lay awake in the bedroom that still echoed with her ghost, listening to the rain tap Morse code on the fire escape. Sebastian's presence was an anchor, unexpected and unyielding, pulling me from the undertow. By morning, the storm had cleared, leaving a sky bruised purple over the skyline. Sebastian was already up, brewing coffee in the French press she'd bought us for our anniversary, another relic I hadn't packed. "Field trip," he announced, shoving a mug into my hands. "You're not moping in here today," I protested weakly, but he dragged me out anyway, hailing a cab to the High Line. The elevated park was a ribbon of green slicing through the meatpacking district's grit, wildflowers nodding in the breeze off the Hudson. We walked in silence at first, the click of my boots on the wooden planks syncing with the distant rumble of the A train. Tourists snapped selfies against graffiti murals, but Sebastian led us to a quieter stretch, where rusted rails peeked through the foliage like forgotten veins. "See that?" He pointed to a cluster of urban explorers lounging on a bench, their cameras slung like bandoliers. "They're chasing frames that capture the chaos. You should too, Nate. Your designs, those vector art pieces you showed me last Christmas, they've got soul." "Don't let her dim that." I leaned on the railing, the wind whipping my hair. Below, taxis honked in a yellow blur. "It's not that simple. Everything feels tainted now." He bumped my shoulder with his. "Taint fades. Like wine stains on a white shirt. Scrub hard enough, and it's gone." His laugh was low, infectious, and for a split second, I forgot the hollow in my gut. We spent the afternoon wandering Chelsea Market, sampling oysters that tasted like briny regret and street art that screamed rebellion. Sebastian sketched in his notebook, quick lines capturing a busker's profile or the curve of a wrought iron gate. Watching him, I felt a spark, jealousy, maybe, or admiration, for his ease in the world, unburdened by the straitjacket of expectations. By evening, we were back in the loft, sprawled on the floor with pizza boxes and a bottle of cheap Merlot. The conversation meandered from Emily's childhood antics, stealing his comic books to trade for Barbie clothes, to my failed attempt at a gallery submission last spring. "You're too hard on yourself," he said, his head propped on his elbow, wine staining his lips red. "Art's not about perfection. It's about bleeding on the page." Our eyes met then, and something shifted, a current, subtle as a shadow crossing the moon. His gaze lingered, blue and searching, and I wondered if he saw the fractures in me, the way my pulse quickened under his scrutiny. But he looked away first, rolling onto his back with a yawn. "Get some sleep, Nate. Tomorrow, we hit the real therapy, dive bars and bad decisions." As he drifted off, I traced the line of his jaw in the lamplight, a forbidden cartography. Emily's brother. Off-limits in every code. Yet in that moment, with the city humming beyond the walls, he felt like the only map worth following. The days bled into a rhythm, Sebastian extending his stay under the guise of moral support, though we both knew it was more. He commandeered the kitchen, whipping up farm-to-table experiments with ingredients scavenged from the green market, kale salads laced with goat cheese, seared trout that flaked like autumn leaves. I'd catch him humming Radiohead under his breath, his hips swaying as he chopped cilantro, and I'd smile despite myself, the knot in my chest loosening thread by thread. One night, after a gallery crawl in Soho where his photos hung in a pop-up show, ethereal shots of abandoned warehouses haunted by light, he pulled me into a dimly lit jazz club on Bleecker Street. The air was thick with saxophone wails and the tang of aged bourbon. We claimed a corner booth, knees brushing under the scarred oak table. To fresh starts, he toasted, clinking his glass against mine. The whiskey burned sweet, pooling warmth in my veins. To not drowning, I countered, and we laughed, the sound raw and real. As the set unfolded, a crooner belting out Billie Holiday covers, Sebastian's hand found mine across the table. Not tentative, but deliberate, his thumb tracing the ridge of my knuckle. "Nate," he murmured, voice barely audible over the clarinet's cry. "You ever think about what comes next? After the wreckage?" I swallowed, the room tilting like a funhouse mirror. His touch was electric, forbidden fruit wrapped in familiarity. "Lately, just surviving the now." He leaned in, breath ghosting my ear. "The now's not so bad." His lips brushed my temple, feather light, and the world narrowed to that point of contact, a spark in the dark. I pulled back, heart hammering. "Seb. Emily isn't here," he finished, his eyes darkening with a mix of defiance and hurt. "And even if she were, this isn't about her. It's about us. You and me, in this mess, finding our way." The band struck up a slow blues number, and before I could protest, he was on his feet, tugging me to the cramped dance floor. Bodies swayed in the haze, shadows merging under the swing of a bare bulb. He drew me close, one hand at the small of my back, the other interlacing our fingers. I stiffened at first, the ghost of Emily's grip haunting my muscle memory. But Sebastian's hold was different, firm, unyielding, like he was anchoring me to the earth. We moved to the rhythm, awkward at first, then fluid, my cheek against his shoulder, inhaling the scent of him, cedar cologne and clean sweat. Whispers from other couples faded. It was just us, two men stealing time from the universe. When the song ended, he didn't let go immediately, his forehead resting against mine. "Tell me to stop," he breathed. "And I will," but I didn't. Instead, I tilted my head, our lips meeting in a kiss that tasted of whiskey and what-ifs, tentative, then urgent, a dam breaking after a season of floods. We stumbled back to the loft in the witching hour, the streets alive with cabs and club kids spilling from doorways. Inside, clothes shed like old skins, his tea over the lamp, casting golden shadows, my jeans pooling at my ankles. In the bedroom, under the sheets that still faintly smelled of her, we explored each other with the reverence of survivors. His body was a landscape of contrasts, soft plains over honed muscle, freckles dusting his collarbone like stars. My hands mapped him, learning the dip of his spine, the hitch in his breath when I grazed his hip. Afterward, tangled and spent, he traced lazy circles on my chest. "This doesn't fix everything," he whispered into the dark. "No," I agreed, kissing his temple. "But it's a start." Little did I know, the real storm was brewing on the horizon. Emily's wedding invitation arriving like a grenade, pin pulled, and the family ties that would test if this fragile bridge between us could withstand the blast. The invitation came on a Tuesday, slipped under the door like a serpent in the garden. Cream cardstock embossed with gold filigree, Emily's elegant script announcing nuptials at the Plaza Hotel in 3 weeks. Join us in celebrating love's new chapter. It cooed, as if betrayal came with confetti. I stared at it on the kitchen floor, coffee mug forgotten in my hand, the steam curling like accusations. Sebastian found me there, cross-legged amid the rubble of yesterday's sketches. He'd taken to leaving his work strewn about, half-finished portraits of street vendors and skyline silhouettes bleeding charcoal into the rug. "What's that?" he asked, snatching it up before I could crumple it. His face hardened as he read, jaw clenching like a trap springing shut. "She's got balls. I'll give her that." He tossed it onto the counter, where it landed beside a vase of wilting daisies, his impulse buy from a bodega run. I shrugged, feigning nonchalance, but my voice betrayed me, cracking on the edges. "Family obligation, right? You're her brother. Can't skip. Fuck that." He raked a hand through his hair, pacing the length of the loft. Sunlight slanted through the blinds, striping his arms in gold. "I'm not going if you're not. And you sure as hell shouldn't, but I would. Not for her. Not really for closure. For the masochistic poetry of watching the woman who'd gutted me pledge forever to another." "It's New York," I said, standing to rinse my mug in the sink. "Weddings are theater. I'll play my part, then ghost." Sebastian stopped pacing, his eyes searching mine with that intensity that had become my addiction. "Theater? Nate, this is real life. You'll see her with him, all dolled up in white, and it'll rip the scab off." He was right, of course. But admitting it felt like surrender. Instead, I pulled him close, burying my face in the crook of his neck. "Then be my date. Moral support. Remember." His laugh rumbled against my chest, vibrating through me. "Date? To my sister's wedding? That's some Greek tragedy shit. Tragic heroes need sidekicks," I murmured, nipping at his earlobe. He shivered, hands sliding under my shirt, and just like that, the invitation was forgotten in a tangle of limbs and laughter. The next 2 weeks were a fever dream of stolen moments. Sebastian's exhibit in Portland had been extended, but he postponed, citing inspiration in the city that never sleeps. We roamed like urban nomads. Ferry rides to Staten Island at dawn, where we'd make out on the deck while gulls wheeled overhead. Midnight picnics in Central Park with prosciutto and figs pilfered from Dean and DeLuca. He taught me to see the city through his lens, framing the chaos, finding beauty in the grit. In return, I showed him my digital sketches, evolving from sterile logos to raw, emotive pieces inspired by him. Abstract swirls of blue and gold, evoking the storm in his eyes. Sex with him was revelation. Where Emily had been playful, teasing, Sebastian was immersion, slow builds to crashing waves. His body attuned to mine like we'd been choreographed in some cosmic rehearsal. We'd wake to the scent of rain on concrete, his leg thrown over mine, and I'd marvel at how he'd slipped into my life, filling voids I hadn't known were cavernous. But cracks formed, subtle as hairlines in glass. Emily called once, her voice tinny through the speakerphone while Sebastian showered. "Nate, I miss you as a friend. The wedding. It would mean a lot if you came." I mumbled assurances, hating the tremor in my tone, and hung up before the tears came. Sebastian emerged towel-clad, droplets tracing paths down his chest, and read the lie in my silence. "You're still hung up," he said, not accusing, just stating fact as he toweled his hair. "No," I pulled him onto the bed, desperate to prove it with touch. But as he moved above me, urgent and giving, doubt whispered, was this rebound or revelation? The family dinner sealed the fracture. Emily's mom, our surrogate during holidays, insisted on a pre-wedding gathering at her Upper East Side brownstone, all crystal decanters and oil portraits of stern ancestors. Sebastian and I arrived fashionably late, my arm brushing his in the cab, a secret thrill amid the propriety. The dining room was a tableau of forced cheer, ants and pearls clucking over centerpieces, Derek's parents droning about mergers and acquisitions. Emily greeted us at the door, radiant in a sheath dress the color of champagne, her hand lingering on Derek's arm like a claim staked. "Nate, you made it." Her hug was perfunctory, eyes flicking to Sebastian with a sibling shorthand I couldn't decode. Dinner was exquisite torture. Roast duck with fig reduction. Conversations orbiting small talk like satellites avoiding collision. I sat across from Emily, Sebastian to my left, his knee pressing mine under the damask cloth in silent solidarity. Wine flowed, loosening tongues. Emily's mom raised a toast to new beginnings, her gaze softening on me with pity that curdled in my gut. Then Derek's brother, a ruddy-faced accountant named Todd, leaned in with a leer. "So, Nathaniel, Emily says you're in. Design, tough gig in this economy. Ever think about something steady?" The table tittered, and I forced a smile, fork scraping porcelain. "Steady's overrated. Passion pays in colors, not currency." Sebastian's hand found my thigh, squeezing a lifeline. But Emily chimed in, too brightly, "Nate's talented, but yeah, stability matters. That's why Derek and I." She trailed off, but the implication landed like a slap. The air thickened. Sebastian cleared his throat, his voice cutting through like a blade. "Stability? Like chaining yourself to a mortgage and mediocrity? Emily, you used to dream bigger backpacking Europe, writing that novel. Now it's this." He gestured vaguely at Derek, who flushed beet red. "Sebastian," Emily hissed. "Not tonight." But he was on a roll, the wine and blood tie fueling him. "No, tonight's perfect. You're trading fire for frost, sis. And Nate here, he's the spark you left smoldering." Silence crashed down, heavier than the chandelier's crystal. Emily's mom gasped, Derek's father muttering about family matters. I froze, heat rising in my cheeks, torn between gratitude and mortification. Emily's eyes blazed as she shoved back her chair. "You don't get it, Seb. You flit around, breaking hearts like it's art. Some of us want roots, and some of us want wings," he shot back, standing too, his chair scraping like nails on chalkboard. I grabbed his wrist, pulling him down. "Not here," I whispered, but the damage was done. Dessert was cancelled, goodbyes clipped. In the cab ride home, Sebastian slumped against the window, fists clenched. "I ruined it," he muttered. "For you." "No." I cupped his face, thumbs brushing his cheekbones. "You defended me. That's everything." He searched my eyes, vulnerability cracking his armor. "Am I just the rebound guy, Nate? The consolation prize after she picked the thoroughbred?" The question hung, raw and exposed. I kissed him then, fierce and affirming, pouring truth into the press of lips. "You're the prize. The one I choose." We made love that night with a hunger born of defiance. Bodies slick and urgent, reclaiming space in a world that sought to shrink us. But as he slept, curled against me, the invitation on the nightstand mocked us, a ticking clock to confrontation. The wedding week arrived like a fever, Manhattan swelling with bridal buzz. Sebastian threw himself into work, shooting a freelance gig for a fashion mag, moody portraits in abandoned lofts that mirrored our tangled state. I buried in deadlines, vectoring logos for a startup that peddled authentic millennial angst, irony not lost. Friday night, he came home late, camera bag heavy with memory cards. "Missed you," he said, pulling me into the hall, his kiss tasting of Red Bull and city dust. "Missed this," I replied, hands fisting his shirt. We didn't make it to the bedroom, against the wall, quick and desperate, the mirror reflecting our frenzy like a voyeur. After, panting on the rug, he propped on an elbow. "Promise me something. At the wedding tomorrow, if it gets ugly, we bail. Together. Deal." I traced the tattoo on his rib, a compass rose, ink faded from years of wandering. "Where to next?" "Anywhere but here." His smile was boyish, unguarded. "Maybe that road trip you and Em never took. Route 66. Kitsch diners. Motels with neon signs." I laughed, envisioning it, us, wind-whipped and free. But dawn brought reality. The tuxedo hanging like a noose, the boutonniere wilting in its fridge. The plaza loomed opulent. Fifth Avenue choked with limos disgorging guests in pastels. Sebastian adjusted my tie in the lobby, his fingers lingering at my throat. "You look devastating." "So do you." In slim black, he was sharp edges and quiet storm, a far cry from the rumpled artist I'd first met. We entered the ballroom arm in arm, a united front amid whispers. Emily's side eyed us curiously. Had word of the dinner spat spread? Derek's clan shot sidelong glances, sensing the outsider vibe. Sebastian's mom pulled him aside for a hushed conference, her patrician features pinched. "Behave, Sebastian. This is her day," he extricated with a nod, finding me at the bar nursing a scotch. "Told her I'm here for family. Which includes you." The ceremony was a blur of vows and violins. Emily gliding down the aisle on her father's arm, Derek beaming like he'd won the lottery. She was breathtaking, ivory lace hugging her curves, veil a cascade of illusion. But as she locked eyes with him, I saw not regret, but resolve. The stung, a fresh twist of the knife, but Sebastian's hand in mine dulled the edge. During the cocktail hour, toasts rang out, maudlin anecdotes, laughter canned. Emily approached then, bridesmaids trailing like pastel satellites. "Nate, thank you for coming." And Seb, truce. He squeezed my hand before releasing it, stepping forward. "Truce. You look happy. That's what matters." She hugged him, then me, her perfume cloying, familiar ache. "I am. Derek's. Good for me." Her gaze dropped to our linked hands, lingering. "You too?" "More than friends," I said, chin lifted. "No more hiding." Her smile faltered, then steadied. "Good. You deserve that." But as she walked away, Derek's arm reclaiming her, I caught the flicker. Envy? Loss? Or just the ghost of what we'd been? Dinner was interminable. Rubber chicken, speeches that dragged like anchors. Sebastian fidgeted, sketching napkin doodles of caricatured guests. When the cake was cut, 7 tears of fondant fantasy, we slipped to the terrace. The night air crisp with autumn bite, Central Park a dark sprawl below. "Escape hatch?" he asked, lighting a cigarette pilfered from the valet. "God, yes." I stole a drag, coughing on the smoke. "Think they'll notice?" "Not if we're slick." His grin was mischief incarnate. We ghosted out a side door, tuxes rumpled, into the cab swarm. "Brooklyn," Sebastian directed. Then to me, change of plans. "Trust me, always." The ride was electric, hands roaming under the partition's blind eye. At the loft, we shed the formal wear like shackles, collapsing into bed with the pent-up energy of outlaws. But peace was fleeting. At 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. Emily, slurred and sobbing. Nate, I saw you with Seb. On the terrace. Wrong. He's my brother. The words chilled me, sobering the haze. Wrong? We're in love. A pause. Then, love or revenge? You're using him to hurt me. I hung up, gut churning, and Sebastian stirred. Her? Yeah. I curled into him, seeking solace. She thinks this is payback. He stiffened, then sighed. Is it? The question echoed, a chasm opening. In the quiet, doubt swarmed. Was our connection born of her absence? A balm for wounds she'd inflicted? Or something purer, forged in fire? Morning brought clarity, or its illusion. Over coffee, Sebastian voiced it. We need space. To know if this is real. My heart plummeted. Space? Now. A week. You crash with a friend. I'll head to Portland. Finish the exhibit. His eyes pleaded understanding. Not goodbye. Just truth. I nodded, throat tight, and watched him pack, each zipper a severance. The door click echoed like finality, leaving me in echoes of his scent. The week was purgatory. I couch-surfed at my buddy Marco's in Astoria, sketching feverishly, portraits of Sebastian's hands, the curve of his smile, rendered in desperate strokes. Sleepless nights replayed our moments, the jazz club kiss, terrace escape, questioning if love could bloom from another's grave. Emily texted apologies, laced with concern. Talk to me, Nate. For old times. I ignored them, focusing on the void Sebastian left, a shape that fit only him. Day 5. A package arrived at Marco's, Sebastian's compass tattoo, digitized into a vector design, emailed with a note. Navigate back to me. Tears blurred the screen. It wasn't rebound. It was reckoning. I booked a flight to Portland that night, heart pounding with resolve. But as the plane taxied, my phone lit up. Emily, frantic. Derek left. Wedding's off. Need you. Both of you. Collision course. The Trinity tangled once more, truths waiting to unravel. Portland greeted me with a drizzle that felt like mercy, gray skies veiling the ache as I navigated from the airport to Sebastian's studio in the Pearl District. The city was a softer New York, craft breweries tucked into brick lofts, food carts steaming with plantains and pierogies, streets alive with cyclists dodging hipsters on fixies. But my mind was a whirlwind, Emily's voicemail looping, her voice breaking over the line, confessing Derek's cold feet, his abrupt exit post-honeymoon reveal of some corporate affair. I was wrong, Nate. Come home. We can fix us. Fix us? The words curdled, a relic of a life I'd outgrown. Yet doubt gnawed. Had I fled too soon, mistaking healing for home? Sebastian's studio was a converted warehouse, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the Willamette River's sluggish flow. I buzzed up, pulse thundering, and he answered shirtless, paint-smeared jeans slung low, surprise widening his eyes. Nate? What the? Couldn't wait. I dropped my duffel, crossing the space to claim his mouth, the kiss a collision of relief and hunger. He tasted of turpentine and green tea, hands fisting my jacket as he backed me against the door. You're here, he gasped when we broke, foreheads pressed. Thought you'd need more time. Time's overrated. I grinned, but shadows lingered. Emily called. Derek bailed. She's spiraling, his body tensed, the warmth cooling. And nothing. I chose you. But she wants reconciliation. Thinks we're a phase. He pulled away, raking hands through his hair, pacing the concrete floor strewn with canvas scraps, abstracts of fractured skies, blues bleeding into indigos. A phase? After everything, hurt etched his features, raw as exposed film. I reached for him, but he sidestepped. Talk to me, Seb. He stopped at the window, arms crossed, city lights flickering on below like distant regrets. She's my sister, Nate. Blood. And if she pulls you back, where does that leave me? The rebound who got too real. You're not. I started, but he whirled. Eyes stormy. Then prove it. Stay. Here. With me. No New York strings. No what-ifs about her. The ultimatum hung. A gauntlet thrown. Portland shimmered beyond the glass. A canvas blank and beckoning. A trial run? I hedged. Heart splitting. All in. His voice softened. Vulnerability cracking through. I love you, Nate. Not as her cast-off. As you, messy, brilliant, mine. The words unlocked me, tears pricking. I love you too. Let's try. We dove in then, sealing the pact with bodies and whispers, the studio our sanctuary. Days blurred into a haze of creation. Him developing prints in the darkroom, chemical tang mingling with our sweat. Me freelancing from a scarred drafting table, designs infused with his influence, geometric hearts etched in neon veins. Nights were bonfires, Powell's city of books crawls, where we'd lose hours in sci-fi stacks, quoting Vonnegut over voodoo donuts, hikes in Forest Park, fog-shrouded trails where we'd fuck against mossy oaks, nature's indifferent witness. But Emily's shadow lengthened. Texts escalated to calls, voicemails laced with sobs, then anger. You're throwing us away for him? My brother? This incestuous. Nate. Sick. The accusation landed like shrapnel, twisting old wounds. Sebastian overheard one, his face paling as he snatched the phone. Stop. This isn't about you. Her reply crackled through. It is. You're stealing my life. Seb. Always the favorite. Now poaching my ex. He hung up, slamming the device on the counter. She's delusional. Or hurt. I rubbed his shoulders. Knots unyielding. Family's messy. Messy doesn't justify poison. He shrugged me off, retreating to the darkroom, door clicking shut like a vault. The rift widened. Sebastian withdrew, sketches turning darker, silhouettes of lovers with knives for hands. I countered with distance, burying in work, but the studio felt smaller, air thick with unspoken fears. Climax shattered on a rainy Thursday. Emily arrived unannounced, pounding the buzzer at dawn. Her voice amplified through the intercom. Nate, open up. I flew cross-country. We need to talk. Sebastian, bleary-eyed in boxers, glanced at me. Let her in. End this. She burst through like a tempest, hair matted from the downpour, eyes red-rimmed in a face stripped of makeup. Nate, she faltered, spotting Sebastian behind me, the tableau damning. He nodded curtly, arms barred. She ignored him, lunging for my hands. I was wrong. Derek was a mistake, a panic grab for normalcy. But you. We were real. Come home. The plea twisted, evoking the girl I'd loved. Vulnerable, fierce. But the man beside me, the one who'd mended my fractures with gentle hands, anchored me. Home's here now. With him. Her gaze snapped to Sebastian, betrayal blooming. Him? My brother? This is revenge porn. Nate. Fucking him to spite me. Jesus. Emily. Sebastian exploded, stepping forward. It's not about you. Never was. Liar. She wheeled on him, fists balled. You always wanted what I had, toys, tension. Now this. Mom's death left you adrift. So you latch onto my scraps. The words were venom. Sibling wounds flayed open. Sebastian recoiled, face ashen. Scraps? Is that what you think I am? You're consolation chaos. You're the screw-up who bails on family for art. She spat. And now you're bailing me with him. I intervened, pulling her back. Enough. This ends now. But momentum carried her forward, shoving Sebastian hard enough to stagger him into a shelf. Canisters crashed, developing trays spilling fixer in acrid rivers. In the chaos, her heel caught a slick patch. She slipped, elbow cracking the windowsill with a sickening thud. Blood welled, not gushing but stark against porcelain skin, a thin line tracing her forearm. Oh God! I knelt, staunching with my shirt, horror dawning. Sebastian dropped beside us, face drained, fetching the first aid kit from the bathroom. Emily sobbed, not from pain but defeat, as he bandaged her with trembling hands. Why? Seb? Why him? He met her eyes, voice steady despite the quake. Because he sees me. All of me, the mess, the magic. And I see him. You never did. Not fully. She searched his face. Then mine. The fight leaching out. I loved you, Nate. Thought I could again. You did? I said softly, tying off the gauze. But love evolves. Let it go. Silence fell, broken only by rain pattering the panes. She stood, weaving slightly, dignity frayed but intact. Fine. Keep Portland. Keep each other. At the door, she paused, voice small. But if it breaks you, don't come crying. The latch clicked, and she was gone, swallowed by the storm. Sebastian and I remained on the floor, amidst chemical stains and shattered calm, hands entwined over the mess. I'm sorry, he whispered, head on my shoulder. For what? Defending us? I tilted his chin up. That was brave, reckless, but his kiss was grateful, deepening to affirmation. We cleaned in tandem, the ritual cathartic, wiping spills, salvaging prints warped by the flood. By nightfall, the studio breathed again, scars hidden under fresh layers. But the confrontation lingered, a bruise on our bloom. Emily's words echoed. Revenge, scraps. In quiet moments, I catch Sebastian staring at the river, lost in currents of doubt. What if she's right? He'd murmur over late-night ramen. What if I'm just the easy out? You're the hard win, I'd counter, pulling him close. The one worth fighting for. To prove it, I pitched a joint project, a collaborative exhibit blending my digital art with his photography, portraits of queer resilience, shot in Portland's underbelly, rendered in vectors that pulsed with life. Galleries bit, buzz built. We poured ourselves in, late nights yielding magic. Him capturing a drag queen's fierce gaze in a dive bar's neon glow, me animating it into fractals that danced like fireflies. Opening night was electric, loft packed with locals, flannel-clad artists clinking IPAs, murmurs of raw and revolutionary. Sebastian's arm around my waist felt like armor as we mingled, toasting to us. A reviewer from Willamette Week snapped our photo. Caption later reading, "A love story in pixels and prints, but euphoria cracked mid-reception." My phone vibrated. Marco. Voice urgent. "Nate, Emily's mom called. Em's in the hospital. Overdose. Pills and wine. She's stable, but she asked for you." The room spun, champagne turning to ash. Sebastian's grip tightened. "Go. I'll handle here." On the red-eye to JFK. Guilt gnawed. Had our happiness hastened her spiral? The hospital reeked of antiseptic regret. Fluorescent buzz drilling my skull. Emily lay pale in the bed, for dripping salvation, her mother dozing in the chair. "Nate." Her whisper was frail, hand extended. I took it, the touch platonic now, a bridge burned to embers. "I'm here." Tears tracked her cheeks. I pushed too hard. Thought I could rewind. But seeing you with Seb, it broke me open. Made me see, I never let you go. Or me. I stroked her hair, the red dulled to rust. "You're enough. Always were. Find your own light." Her mom stirred, eyes grateful. "She'll get help. Therapy. Maybe a sabbatical." As dawn crept through blinds, I kissed Emily's forehead. Farewell. Not forever, and left, the city awakening to another gray day. Back in Portland, Sebastian waited at the gate. Sign scrawled, "My North." We collapsed into bed, his hold fierce. "She's okay?" "Yeah. And so are we." Healing rippled outward. Emily entered rehab in the Catskills. Emails evolving from apologies to affirmations. "Proud of your exhibit." "Proud of you." Sebastian's mom visited, thawing over coffee, admitting her blindness to his pains. "You too. You're good for each other." Winter settled, snow dusting the bridges like powdered sugar. We adopted a rescue mutt, a scruffy terrier named Jax, who claimed the foot of our bed with territorial snores. Mornings were rituals, him brewing pour-over, me sketching over breakfast burritos, plans unfolding, a cross-country drive come spring, exhibits in LA, maybe a life stitched from disparate threads. One evening, as hail ticked the windows, Sebastian pulled a ring from his pocket, simple tungsten, etched with compass points. Not marriage. Not yet. But a promise. To navigate together. I slipped it on, the weight right. Together, our kiss sealed it, slow and sure, the world outside fading to white noise. Love, we'd learned, wasn't a straight line from hurt to bliss, but a winding path, paved with betrayals and breakthroughs, leading home to the heart that healed. Yet in the quiet, as he slept, I pondered the cost. Emily's scars, our stolen starts. Human frailty wove us all, threads of joy and sorrow indistinguishable. And in that tapestry, we'd found our pattern. Not perfect, but profoundly ours. Spring unfurled in Portland like a secret kept too long. Cherry blossoms rioting pink against evergreens, the air heady with mud and renewal. Sebastian and I leaned into it, our life a canvas we'd reclaimed stroke by stroke. The exhibit tour kicked off with a bang. Seattle first, where rain-slicked galleries drew crowds mesmerized by our fusion. His silver gelatin prints mounted beside my interactive projections, visitors gasping as figures animated, hearts pulsing in sync with hidden speakers crooning Nina Simone. "You're a wizard," he murmured post-show, toasting with local ciders in a Fremont dive, fairy lights twinkling overhead like approval. You're the magic, I countered, stealing a fry from his plate, our knees knocking under the booth. Jax waited at the hotel, no doubt chewing a complimentary slipper, his latest conquest. But success amplified shadows. Emily's recovery was a public affair. Rehab's structured serenity yielding to outpatient therapy. Her Instagram a curated chronicle of hikes in the Shangumps. Captions hashtagged Phoenix Rising. She reached out sporadically, a like on our tour posts, a text congratulating a write-up in The Stranger. Killing it, boys. Miss the chaos. Polite, but laced with the ache of orbits diverged. Sebastian fielded it with grace. But I saw the toll. Nights he'd wake thrashing from dreams of her fall, the blood on the studio floor a phantom stain. She's healing, I'd soothe, tracing his spine until sleep reclaimed him. And so are we. The drive south was our antidote. Route 66 reimagined. Jax's head out the window of our rented Jeep Wrangler, tongue lolling in bliss. We ditched interstates for backroads, chasing whims, taqueria detours in Tucson, where we devoured carne asada under string lights, mariachi strumming laments that mirrored our scars. A midnight dip in the Grand Canyon's ink-black river, stars wheeling above as we clung, water cold as forgotten promises. In Flagstaff, at a kitsch motel with a neon cactus sign, conflict crested anew. Sebastian's phone rang mid-lovemaking. His mom, voice edged with urgency. Emily's relapsed. Not pills, booze, bad company. She's at a bar in the village. Won't come home. He sat up, the sheet pooling at his waist. Face a mask of fracture. I'll handle it. I corrected, hand on his thigh. But he shrugged it off, dressing with mechanical precision. This is family, Nate. Blood calls. The flight to JFK was turbulent, mirroring the storm in his eyes. I tagged along, uninvited but insistent, booking a red-eye back for us both. The cab to the West Village dropped us at a dive called the Stonewall Inn. Ironic cradle for our reckoning, neon pride flags fluttering in the breeze off the Hudson. Inside, the air was smoke and sweat, jukebox wailing Springsteen. Emily perched at the bar, disheveled in a thrifted sundress, laughing too loud with a cadre of rough-edged strangers. Tattooed arms slung around her, shots lined like soldiers. She spotted us, smile faltering into wariness. Seb. Nate. She slid off the stool, unsteady. Party crashers? Rescue mission, Sebastian said, voice brooking no argument. He nodded to the door, but she planted her feet. I'm fine. Celebrating freedom. Her eyes, glassy, darted to me. You two look domestic. Matching tans from your joyride. Let's go. He reached for her elbow. She jerked away, spilling her drink in an amber arc. Don't touch me. You're not my keeper. The bar hushed, patrons sensing drama scent. I stepped in, soft. No one's keeping. Just caring. She laughed, bitter as bitters. Caring? Like you cared when you bedded my brother days after Derek ditched? That's not care, that's conquest. The accusation ricocheted, heads turning. Sebastian flushed, fists clenching. Conquest? Is that the narrative you're spinning now? Victim of the gay homewreckers. You're twisting it, she shouted, voice cracking. You always do, steal the spotlight, make it about your pain. Mom's funeral? You sketched while I eulogized. Now this, parading Nate like a trophy to one-up me. Pain flashed in his eyes, raw as the night she'd shoved him. One-up? I loved you through it all. Held your hand at chemo visits. Lied to Dad about your shoplifting phase. But you see me as the rival, not the brother. Tears streamed, mascara rivers. Because you are free, unapologetic, while I'm chained to choices. Law school to please Mom, Derek to fit the mold. And you get to love whoever. Live untethered, the confession hung, a veil lifted. Barflies murmured, but we were island in truth. Sebastian softened, stepping closer. Then unchain yourself. For you, not us. She crumpled then, folding into his chest, sobs racking. He held her, rocking like when they were kids, half-siblings bonded in loss. I hung back, the scene a private liturgy, their fractures mending in real time. We bundled her into the cab, her head on my shoulder, Sebastian's hand over ours. At her mom's brownstone, we tucked her in, tea steaming on the nightstand, promises of breakfast. As she drifted, she squeezed my fingers. Sorry. For everything. Forgiven, I whispered. And meant it. Outside, on the stoop under sodium lamps, Sebastian lit a cigarette, offering me a drag. That was apocalypse now. I exhaled smoke rings, watching them dissipate. Or baptism. She's seeing. Really seeing. He nodded, pulling me close. The city a symphony of horns and heartbeats. And us? Still solid. Solid as basalt. Our kiss was salt-tanged. Victory quiet. Back on the road. The tour morphed LA next, where Hollywood's gloss met our grit. We crashed with a curator friend in Silver Lake. House party spilling into canyons, where Sebastian shot Polaroids of revelers mid-twirl, and I projected our exhibit on a reservoir's rippling surface, lights dancing like auroras. But betrayal's echo lingered in subtler forms. Midway through Joshua Tree, stargazing on a blanket with Jax snoring nearby, Sebastian confessed, found Emily's journal once, as kids. She wrote about hating me, jealous of my easy queerness, how I didn't have to hide. The admission chilled the desert night. Hate? That's heavy. Jealousy masquerading. She wanted my freedom, but feared it. He traced constellations. Orion's belt a familiar scar. Makes me wonder if I'd come out sooner, or stayed straighter. Stop. I rolled atop him, pinning gently. Your truth saved us. Don't rewrite it. He relented, hands roaming. The stars are confetti. Love, we learned, demanded excavation, digging through resentments to bedrock. Summer scorched in, tour wrapping in San Francisco's fog-shrouded galleries. Critics raved, a testament to queer kinship, one penned, unwittingly prophetic. Emily joined us for the finale, sober 6 months, her presence a bridge rebuilt. She hugged Sebastian on stage, whispering, proud of my little big brother. To me, thanks for loving him right. The after-party was catharsis. Rainbow flags waving from hate lofts, toasts to survival. Emily danced with a barista named Lena, sparks evident, while Sebastian and I slipped away to the Sutro Baths ruins, waves crashing below like applause. You're my horizon, he said, ring glinting in moonlight. And you're my compass. We made love on the cliffs, salt spray anointing, the ocean devouring secrets. Fall returned us to Portland, roots deepening. A down payment on a fixer-upper in Alberta Arts District, walls we'd paint with our stories. Jax claimed the yard, digging for bones real and imagined. Emily visited, Lena in tow, The four of us grilling in the drizzle, laughter a new language. Yet humanity's underbelly surfaced in whispers. A diagnosis for Sebastian's mom, early-stage lymphoma, the beast that took her first husband. We rallied, drives to MD Anderson, chemo vigils where Emily read aloud from dog-eared Brontes. Sebastian sketched her portraits to capture the fighter beneath frailty. In those sterile halls, bonds forged unbreakable. You gave me family back, Emily told me one night, coffee cooling untouched. Not the old one, the real one. Tears welled. Mutual. We're all mending. Winter solstice brought ceremony. Not vows, but a handfasting under Portland's Japanese garden maples. Bare branches etched against snow. Emily officiated. Lena beside her. Rings exchanged anew. Mine etched with a camera lens. His with a pixel grid. As cords bound our wrists, Sebastian's eyes held galaxies. To betrayals survived. Loves reclaimed. To us, I echoed, sealing with a kiss that tasted of pine and promise. The year turned, and with it, our narrative, from wreckage to weave, threads of pain and passion interlaced. Emily proposed to Lena in the spring. A rooftop affair in Brooklyn we'd fly east for. Full circle. Sebastian's exhibit soloed in MoMA PS1. My designs lighting the Met's facade in pride projections. In quiet evenings, Jack's at our feet. We'd recount the arc. The church steps deluge. The studio spill. The desert confessions. By kitsch or ko how, he'd tease. Mangling Vietnamese from a food cart menu. Human, I'd reply, pulling him close. Profoundly, painfully human, and in that, our happy, imperfect, earned unfolded. The following summer, Emily's wedding to Lena was a riot of color against the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens cherry groves. Petals carpeting the lawn like confetti from the gods. Guests in linen suits and floral crowns swaying to a string quartet's twist on Chapel Roan. Sebastian and I arrived early, arms laden with vintage Polaroids as favors, snaps from our tour, frozen moments of joy. Jax, in a bow tie, romped with flower girls, his barks a joyful underscore. Emily emerged radiant, not in white but sage silk that hugged her like a second skin. Lena's eyes misting as they exchanged vows under a chuppah woven with wildflowers. To roots that roam, Lena promised, and Emily laughed, and wings that ground. We stood witnesses, Sebastian's hand in mine, the circle complete. No shadows loomed. Derek was a footnote, his texts unanswered, life a forward march. Emily's mom, bald from chemo but beaming in a turban, squeezed my arm post-ceremony. You mended more than hearts, Nathaniel. You rebuilt us. Tears pricked. I nodded, throat full. Sebastian, ever the artist, captured it all, discreet shots of teary embraces, cake-smeared kisses, his lens a bridge between past and present. The reception spilled into twilight, fairy lights igniting like fireflies, a playlist blending Billie Holiday with Boy Genius. Emily pulled us onto the floor for a sibling sway, Lena twirling Jax nearby. Who'd have thought? She mused, head on Sebastian's shoulder. From fallout to this, from family to family, he corrected, winking at me over her crown. As stars pricked the indigo, we slipped away to the lily pond, fireflies dancing in mimicry. 1 year, Sebastian said, pulling a flask from his pocket, single malt, smooth as hindsight. Since the hand-fasting, feels like lifetimes. I leaned into him, the waters murmur a lullaby. Portland had become home, our bungalow's walls alive with murals, His darkroom expanded to a guest suite for visiting kin. My studio thrived. Commissions from queer nonprofits. Designs that screamed visibility. He turned, cupping my face. Regrets? None. The word was truth, forged in fires we'd walked. Emily's spiral had been our crucible, exposing jealousies we'd cauterized with honesty. His mom's remission last month? Grace unearned. Future? Then. His kiss deepened, hands wandering paths well-trodden yet thrilling. We made love there, on a blanket stolen from the kids' tent, crickets chirping approval, the world a benevolent voyeur. Autumn brought expansion. Sebastian's book deal, a monograph blending our works, fractured frames, love in the lens, pre-orders flooding from coasts. I illustrated the cover, a heart bisected by light rays, mending in spectrum. Emily contributed an essay, raw on sibling rivalry redeemed. Blood binds, but choice heals. Launch night in a Soho loft was pandemonium. Critics toasting, Instagram live streams buzzing, Jacks hamming for treats. Emily and Lena, fresh from their honeymoon in Positano, crashed the after-party, Bellinis in hand. To the healers, Lena toasted, clinking with Lena's weight, Emily's glass. Amid the revelry, a fan approached Sebastian. Eyes wide, your story. Is hope. For guys like me, still hiding. He signed the book, then pulled the kid into a hug. Hide less. Love loud. Watching, pride swelled this man, once the black sheep, now shepherd to the lost. Winter's hush descended, Portland blanketed in frost. Our routine's a symphony. Morning runs along the esplanade, breath fogging in tandem. Evenings curating playlists, vinyl crackling tales of Tom Waits and Tracy Chapman. Emily announced pregnancy news over Zoom, IVF triumph, a niece or nephew on horizon. Aunt Nate and Uncle Seb, she teased, Lena rubbing her belly. We flew east for the baby shower, a co-ed bash in her mom's garden, now lush with victory. Holding the ultrasound print, Sebastian's eyes misted. Cycle complete. Not complete, I said, kissing his temple. Evolving. Spring 2027 bloomed with birth. Little Harper, red-haired like her mama, wailing into the world as we Skyped from a layover in Denver. Emily's voice, exhausted elation. She's got your fight, Seb, his laugh choked. And your heart. The visit cemented legacies, diaper changes in the nursery, midnight feedings where we'd trade shifts, Harper's tiny fist clutching Sebastian's finger. Emily watched us. Soft, you too. You're the steady I chased wrong. Summer looped back. Anniversaries layered. 2 years since Portland's pact. For since the church steps deluge. We marked it with a vow renewal on that same rooftop where rain had baptized our beginning. Now ours alone. Cityscape evolved. New spires piercing the sky. Under a canopy of strung bulbs. Just us and Jax. We reaffirmed. Rings polished. Promises deepened. Through betrayals and breakthroughs. Sebastian intoned. Voice steady. To the heart that mends. I echoed, sealing with salt-lipped kiss. As dusk deepened, fireflies, escaped from the garden, swirled like blessings. Life's arc bent toward light. Sebastian's TED Talk on queer visibility. My nonprofit launch for LGBTQ+ artists. Emily's law firm pivot to family advocacy. Yet humanism's core pulsed in the mundane. Arguments over grocery lists, laughter at Jax's Zoom eyes, quiet nights where doubts whisper, is this enough? Met with Touch's retort, It is. One crisp October eve, as leaves carpeted the backyard, Sebastian proposed expansion. Kids? Not blood, but ours. Adoption. Fostering, whatever fits. The idea bloomed, terrifying and tender. Yeah, I breathed, envisioning tiny hands in ours, stories we'd tell of storms weathered. Emily's call interrupted reverie. Harper's first word, Unca, laughter bubbled, bridging miles. In bed that night, tangled as ever, Sebastian traced my ring. From her exit to this. Cosmic joke. Cosmic gift. I nuzzled his neck, inhaling home. Years folded. Harper's toddler tantrums navigated via group chats. Our first foster placement. A shy boy named Riley, 8 and wary, who bloomed under Jax's sloppy affections. Sebastian's photos chronicled it. Riley's grin at his first pride, paint smeared from art class. Emily's second, a boy named Theo, arrived amid our adoption hearings, Riley ours legally, the family forged. Celebrations converged, dual birthdays in the Botanic Garden, cakes twin towers of frosting, toasts to chosen kin. Aging crept gentle. Sebastian's blonde waves silvering at temples, my laugh lines etching deeper. Emily's firm won pro bono accolades, Lena's bakery a village staple. Mom, Sebastian's and Emily's, remission held, her garden a haven for grandkid romps. On our 10th, a vow under Portland's cherry arches, Riley, now teen tall, officiated, Harper flower girl with Theo in tow. You taught me love's not perfect, he said, voice cracking, but it's persistent, weeps and cheers, then dance. Sebastian twirling me, gray streaks catching light like stardust. After, on the porch swing, creaking under starlight, he murmured, her leaving. Best thing. Worst and best, I conceded. Broke us open to this. Humanity's weave. Betrayal's thread strengthening the whole. Romance's color bleeding deep. No tidy bows. Life's drama eternal. But in the tapestry, our pattern endured. Vibrant. Vital. And as Jax snored at our feet, Riley's guitar strumming inside, Emily's text pinging, love you weirdos. We rocked into night, hearts healed, whole.